Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's episode of the Maritime Morning Brief, brought to you by the Marine Exchange of Puget Sound. I am your host, Sarah, and I'm here with Executive Director Patrick Gallagher.
Morning.
And today we're here with Norman Smith, Chief Technology Officer at Deep. So it's really great to have you here today, Norman. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, hi,
Thank you
Norman.
for having me.
Where does
Hello.
this podcast find you?
This podcast finds me in Sebastian, Florida. It's on the Treasure Coast here, and we're at a facility where we're doing the final assembly and checkout of our underwater habitat Vanguard.
You say there's a building facility there. Is that where you're based out of?
We have a variety of contractors that we work with, and there's an assembly facility here, operated by Triton Submarines. They happen to build what I think are the most beautiful research submarines in the world. And our expertise plus theirs is a magic combination that allows us to build Vanguard. And there's a lot of resources and ocean engineering capability here in the state of Florida, which drew us here.
How did this happen? How did this happen to you? To where you find yourself working in such a capacity? I've been on your website. I've seen what Vanguard is. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. But it seems like some next level space engineering. So how did this happen to you?
Boy, there you said you said it there. How did it happen to me in particular? I was blessed with a phone call out of the blue by individuals at Deep looking to fill this chief technology officer role. And I think they found me because I have a career path, half in space doing NASA spaceflight hardware and half doing deep water marine engineering, subsea robotically installed connectors. So I enjoyed a phone call from someone just seeing if I'd be interested. And I heard of this vision of building underwater habitats and the mission to make humans aquatic and the roadmap to install habitats in oceans around the world. And I was very engaged in the work I was doing at the time, but within 24 hours, I couldn't really think about anything else. This is the dream job, the dream work that I've always wanted to do, and boy, it just sort of took off from there. And here I am, 2 years later, months away from delivering our first underwater habitat.
So you say making humans aquatic and underwater habitats. So for those who don't know your organization and maybe what either of those words really mean, can you kind of give us a brief overview of those?
So let me think how to approach this. So if you think back to the undersea world of Jacques Cousteau, decades ago, that was such a huge and heavy influence on me. If you remember the Conch Shelf program where he had aquanauts living in underwater habitats under the ocean and doing research, what an inspirational series of documentaries. Well, that is what essentially we're doing today. It's a modern era habitat. Incidentally, there haven't been any underwater habitats built in over 3 decades. So this is us returning to the sea, making humans aquatic. What do we mean by that is living and working in the ocean realm, day after day, week after week, doing important research in regions of the ocean which it's just impractical to reach with scuba gear from the surface because you have such limited bottom time, and also impractical to reach with submersibles because it's really too shallow for them. They would much rather go deeper. So 20 meters to 225 meters, that's the zone where we intend to make humans aquatic.
I'm looking at pictures of Vanguard right now. And how long will people actually be able to live in a submersible like?
It's surprisingly comfortable inside Vanguard. The pictures you're looking at have the square section on the end. That's the dive center with the moon pool. That's how you get in and out of Vanguard. And then the neon green section, that's the living chamber. It's a very cozy living space for a crew of 4. And typically, in missions of the past, they would stay down for a week or so, do their science, and then it would be time to rotate in a new crew. But extended stays are all within the realm of the possible for us. We can have crews stay down for a week or more. We do have surface supply of food and consumables. The crew, by the way, can make their own food inside the habitat, but I think they might prefer what we can ship down to them.
How much overlap, and I'm just gonna guess, but I'd like to hear from you, is there with space technology?
So I've done both. I've done manned space flight hardware, primarily for a space shuttle and space station, working with crews on both systems. I'd say the parallel is most on the engineering side. Space flight is what taught me and teams I work with about design rigor and verification of design and engineering. It's critical to safe operation and the duty of care for the future crews that are gonna use your hardware, and previously in space, now in the ocean realm.
Well, since you brought it up, Norman, the word safe, obviously there's been a lot of focus on this, with the Titan submersible having the mishap. And my background was with the Coast Guard, and I recently just read that report after their board concluded. I am that must be the number one priority, and how do you do that? How do you make something like this safe?
First off, that was a tragedy. Anyone even associated or even not associated with the industry, just a tragedy all around. So how do you do that? It goes back to the rigorous engineering, and in our case, we are working with a class society, DNV. I'm sure you've heard of them. So there's an underwater technology group that we work with. So all of the engineering we do gets checked and blessed by DNV. To ultimately, we'll have class approval for our underwater habitat. So that's design rigor.
Yeah.
And also I could say the our deep roadmap for underwater habitats will stair step into those deeper depths. This first habitat, Vanguard, it will be installed at the diving depth will be 45 feet, roughly 15 meters. So if you've ever done recreational scuba, you've already been to those depths.
Yeah.
You've never been able to live at those depths, but you've already experienced the depth.
Is there, because I think about, well, I just compared to, like it's very comparable to like space travel, even though it has nothing, they're like not similar at all. So do you have like a whole team dedicated to just like researching humans and how their bodies are going to function at that depth? And then what are some changes that you've had to make from learning those things? And then how do you incorporate that into the space that you're building?
So part of the engineering rigor that I mentioned before is learning the most you can from the works of the past, and there have been underwater habitats built in the 60s and the 70s, and around the 80s was the last of that era. So there's a lot to build on. In fact, as I'm talking to you, I'm sitting in a library with bookshelves of reference material and experiences from the past. We also have those individuals on our team, individuals that have experience with the Aquarius reef base habitat in the Florida Keys that saw a lot of use in the last 20 or 30 years. What have we had to adjust to over time? I think human factors, these are known things. One that's I always find interesting, and as do other people, as the human body goes under pressure, if you will, you lose your sense of taste rapidly. So living and working in the Vanguard habitat, um, hot sauce is of a premium because you can taste that.
Oh,
So
interesting.
now you know.
See, that's what I was looking for. That is so strange, actually. Is there a certain, like, is it just any depth, or does it get worse as you go deeper, or
I
just kind of
I hear from my colleagues who are saturation divers that it happens pretty quickly.
wow?
You will experience it at this depth, only 45 feet of depth.
And is the primary mission is research?
For our installation, our first installation, I'd say we have 3 customer segments, if you will, and I'll speak briefly of these because let's remember I do engineering.
Right.
So there is certainly research. Coral remediation type of research is something that I resonates with me as a recreational diver. Space analog also resonates with me. Um, that's where crews that will eventually find their way to a space station or space vehicle, they use an underwater habitat as an analog for how to work together in an environment that's where they have to work together to get the job done and find their way from surface to depth and back. And then the third is a platform for technical diving, advanced technical diving techniques and training.
That is so
Norman,
interesting.
you sound like you got this really cool intersection of, not only interests, but professional experience. You talked to us about engineering spacecraft and all that. So I'm curious about you and your background. I have to assume you went to school for engineering, and where did you grow up and what happened?
Origin story. We call this the origin story.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have to tell you that the origin for me is you can tell I have a few gray hairs. Is the Cousteau documentaries that would show on the weekend that I would watch as a kid, and then the
Same
Apollo
here. Yeah.
astronauts
Awesome.
landing on the moon. I remember, seeing both of those events, and in the case of Cousteau diving, yes, I'd love to dive and do the things that he did, but what really grabbed my attention was I want to design and build that kind of equipment, and that's the origin for me. I've been sketching and building things like that as long as I can remember. That led me to engineering school, the University of Texas in Austin, then to Houston, which has the both the space industry with NASA Johnson Space Center and the oil and gas, offshore oil and gas, where the engineering problems are equally as challenging as space.
Typical day look like, Norman? You told us about 12 hours, 7 days a week.
So yeah, the little background on that.
Yeah, like how does that sustain?
So we're in the middle of what you call FAT testing, functional acceptance testing. So all the design and engineering work is long behind us, and now it's time to run through all the systems, check to make sure they're operating as intended. DNV will join us here in the coming days to witness that. So we're getting ready. We're doing the test ourselves, and then we'll do it with our designated class representative. So it's a high intensity effort. You find things that you didn't plan on finding as you're powering up systems. Things like a connector has a joint that needs to be replaced, or a particular logic controller doesn't switch on like it was supposed to. So we've got all of the skills and people here to go at those things, but every single day we start early with a daily brief of the plans for the day. It's a face-to-face team meeting. I start my day with a double espresso for that meeting, and then we work the plan. And at the end of the day, we measure ourselves to see, did we accomplish everything we need to, and if not, Sometimes it's a long night for us because you need to stay on top of the plan. We have lots of activity and scheduled visits by individuals and customers and the class society. Everything has to work like clockwork.
Yeah. How big is your team?
We have probably, I'd say it comes and goes, but 20 to 30 people touch labor currently. And the way we've structured this project is like many of the NASA projects I've run, where I have a small core engineering team, and then we have cherry-picked some contractors here in the U.S. that that have skills we want to work with, and they're here with us.
I'm interested to discuss that a little more. Something that we hope to achieve on this podcast is just sharing ideas with people, even older individuals, younger individuals, really young individuals looking to kind of move into their careers. When you say that, like, you are picking for selective skills on your team and like specific pieces of engineering, what are some of those like different pieces that people might not think about that compose those teams, or specific focuses or particular skills, just to give people ideas who might be interested in things like this?
So I'd say it's different from project to project. You sort of have to rethink this for each project. Where are you and your team strongest, and where do you need to gap fill so that you're strong 360 degrees? We here have a very strong team in mechanical engineering, operations. I've chosen to augment that with contractors from Houston that have systems engineering capabilities. That if not everyone understands what systems engineering is, that's a broad scope of engineering ability, and the ability to make the connections between different domains of engineering. And it's kind of the glue that holds everything together, and that's actually my background. We also have a company working with us with saturation diving experience. They've built saturation chambers and equipment for the saturation diving industry, and that leverages well into our habitat systems. And finally, as I mentioned before, we're here at Triton Submarines facility in Sebastian, Florida, and they have decades of experience of building, as I mentioned, what I think are some of the most beautiful research submersibles in the world, and we're bringing that experience into Vanguard.
Okay. I'm also interested in the support buoy. So the habitat itself is obviously impressive, but that tether has got to have a lot of engineering as well. And then I imagine, just getting the two to actually tether and connect and do its job must be a real challenge.
It certainly is. If I could paint a picture for you, what's in the shop floor, we have the support buoy. It's out there now on blocks, and the tether from the support buoy is connected to Vanguard inside the shop. And on the buoy, we have a mast with all of the communications gear, two satellite antennas, two cellular, two VHF. So we are doing what we call end-to-end testing from power and comms and compressed air in the buoy, down the umbilical to Vanguard, and then the signals coming back out. But I think you were mentioning the umbilical is always a single point of failure. This gets back to engineering rigor, and what you have to design for the unintended loss of equipment like that. So if we were to lose the umbilical, we revert to emergency supplies for gas and power, for which we have on board for 72 hours.
I'm just thinking, but anyway, the deeper you go, the more challenging that must become. So I can understand the strategy of, off the coast of Florida in a depth that's manageable. That seems like a very measured, safe approach to learning
But
how this is.
Patrick, there's some of my team that might disagree because in the shallower depths like this, we're exposed to the wind and wave action from storms.
Oh, okay.
The deeper we go, the more
Stable.
we 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 can get ourselves away from that, from the ocean motion associated with those two. So we're at our depth, we're perfectly situated to experience the worst of that, which is how, if you've seen on the images, the base plate, the large steel structure underneath
Yeah.
Vanguard, that's nearly 300 tons of steel, and that's the reason for that, to survive the potential hurricane events. And it's it's not the winds, it's the wave motion, and then the water motion at depth associated with the waves.
Hurricane underwater. That sounds. Didn't even think about that.
Well, I don't know if I could add some color here. That in normal weather events, probably the most comfortable place to be is in the living chamber. We can, of course, we can see hurricanes coming. When there's severe weather coming, that's when we'll end the mission, get everyone out of the habitat, and
Right.
head to shore.
Got to be prepared for everything, though.
Yes.
So when do you think, this will be operational and up and running?
We're crossing the T's and checking the boxes on our kind of the final stages of permits and planning. It's all going nicely according to plan. I'd say stay tuned, within 2 months.
Wow.
That's what I mean. Yeah, we're that close. Factory acceptance testing, functional acceptance testing, that's the last thing you do before you start moving hardware to a port and then to your final destination.
So what does the transit look like? How does it get from the shop to the water? Is it just, do you just drop it in? Does it put itself in? Paint me a picture.
We'll work towards that in the
You just drive it off a
years of our
barge.
roadmap. Yes, exactly. Auto deploy. No, it's a coordinated effort. It's like, I don't know, conducting an orchestra. We have this equipment here with us in Sebastian, Florida. We have the big steel, the base plate, coming to us from a vendor in Louisiana. So
Gosh.
we'll go with this equipment here. We'll go over road. Excuse me. We'll go over road to our assembly location. It'll be a port here in Florida. The large steel base plate will come by barge through the intercoastal. We'll mate the two together and do some final fit checks, put them on a barge there, and then we have a contractor that we work with who does ocean installations, who'll bring it all to site and set up the mooring system to be able to precision locate the barge. And this is all things I'm sure you've heard of before. And we'll start by putting the foundation in place, and then putting the mooring spread for the buoy, and then the habitat itself, and then making the connection of the tag end of the umbilical through the hose pipe up to the buoy.
It's very inspirational. I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest with you, that I haven't heard more about this, that this is happening, just off our shores here in the United States, in Florida. And it's kind of like calling back to so many other people we've talked to about how this world is so hidden away. The oceans, and obviously we work mostly with what's going over the ocean on
Right,
trade
surface.
routes. So this is,
Yep.
subsurface. And I'm wondering maybe how people could get more engaged. Like, I love what we're doing right now and hearing from you. I'm wondering how more people could sort of interact with what you're doing and maybe follow along. And that's just sort of what's rattling through my brain is this is a huge deal. And to be quite honest
Thank
with
you.
you, I didn't know anything about it. And if and
Well,
if
Patrick, I was going to say just wait. This is the first of more to come.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a whole roadmap ahead of us where Vanguard is the first step. I mean, that's the responsibility of my organization is to execute that roadmap, and
yeah,
that'll bring us into Sentinel, which is a larger series of habitats, larger, more modular, intended for deeper water. You know, I think the most most encouragement I can give is to follow our journey on social media, like Instagram, at Deep Engineering.
it seems like you
There's
need
some good stuff
someone.
being shown there.
It seems like you need someone from Seattle to actually come down there and see it firsthand. I mean, I'm just,
Uh, well, well, I know
just
some
seek
people you can talk
appropriate.
to. Well, I would
So
suggest you hurry, because
Okay.
within probably 3 weeks or so, this will be heading towards
be
ocean realm,
gone.
And
and
that's
then you got to get wet to go see it.
oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, I just want to let you know, I've been diving twice and it freaked
Okay,
me
Really?
out.
really?
Oh my gosh. I have to tell you, I was completely
So,
uncomfortable. I drove an anchor chain. I was in France with the French Coast Guard, and
okay.
there's like, you want to go diving? And I said, okay. And then suddenly I'm looking up. I don't know how it felt incredibly deep. I don't think
Mm.
s- someone who does what you do, it's
Well,
a big deal at all. But it freaked me out that I was completely dependent on this thing on my back. Because when I looked up, all I could think was there's absolutely no way I would make it to the surface on my own.
yeah,
And that scared me.
I have I've enjoyed a different experience, and I'm not a professional diver. I worked with professional divers. I'm recreational, and for me, I hope others have this experience. It feels so incredibly natural to me to be in the water, in the ocean realm, underwater, surrounded by water. Just the motion, the movement, and I've always had a feeling of, unfortunately, I'm limited by the amount of air that's stored in this tank. I wish I could stay down here forever.
I love that you feel that way. And others do too. Uh, I did not. I hated being dependent on this thing on my back. And I think maybe
Hmm.
that's the difference between an engineer and a non-engineer. Because I was like, who in the hell made this thing? It's
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, it's a world of wonder for me that people
Hmm.
can do things that like what you're doing right now. It's a whole world that I wish I understood more. I wish other people understood more, but
Well, I
it
do as
is like
well.
magic.
Yes.
It is a little bit magical. So for what it's worth, that's what I think about what you do.
This is a man who's like, let's go to sea for months at a time where we can't see the land. And now that idea freaks me out.
But that
Like, I
though
don't know
is
about that.
you've got, I don't know, thousands of years of precedent for something like that. Whereas what Norman's doing, I'm guessing, and I know you're working on what you work on, and there's things you can and can't say about what that is and how it works, but I have to think you've developed technology that's probably never existed, Bert.
First thing I was going to say is I think there are people naturally drawn to the ocean, and I think there are
Yes.
more of them than we might realize.
Yes.
Um, I run across them all the time with when people find out what I do for a living. On the technology side, we have the benefit of more modern and sophisticated gear than ever before in important areas like atmosphere monitoring and detection, and the ability to transmit data and signals, through satellite links to a watch desk where we have, 24/7 monitoring of our habitats. Just, um, some of that was available in the past, but never off the shelf. Just I can have it here tomorrow,
Yeah.
Most definitely.
which sometimes creates a problem because there are certain materials we can bring into a habitat and certain we can't. It goes back to the engineering rigor of safe operation of a habitat.
What are things that you can't, if you can say? What are like things that are big no-nos that you've figured out or
Well,
knew before?
it's the same thing with space and the saturation environment. If you're ever dealing with a higher partial pressure of oxygen environment, you have to be careful about bringing flammable materials into that habitat. So we are there. There are materials, especially fabrics, that are approved for hyperbaric conditions. Things like metals, stainless steel, aluminums, those are not an issue. They're not flammable, but everything that goes inside the habitat has to be screened.
Right. So like the cushion covers on the bed or whatever, and
The
what you
mattress, the cushion
wear. Yeah.
covers. Yes. Yeah. So
But you
that's
said they
part
can
of
cook
our
in there. How are they
we
cooking?
have a food warmer.
Like
And
the
that
old, what's the movie where they would put it in and you'd click the button and then it would like come out. It was like a packet and then it would come out like a cheeseburger.
Yeah, we're not there yet.
But close. Like, if
Yeah.
in your mind's eye.
I have a dumb question. I'm sorry.
There are none of those. No, ask away.
Have you seen The Abyss?
Yes, and that was also I think I was just in engineering school around that time, and again it was a just like the Jacques Cousteau days. So how cool is that? And I want to build that hardware, except for the discovering aliens part. I mean, that'd be
that
cool,
part.
but
And the end was, but I read that book. So there's definitely some similarities. Jacques Cousteau, I read. I mean, I was so into that as a kid too. I grew up in Montana, so I had no access to anything like that. I never thought I'd even see salt water. But I understand what you're saying. There's a draw, and once you see it, you can't forget it.
that might be it. The draw to the ocean. My life, I've hardly ever been away from the ocean.
I knew I had to go, and it was I just knew it. And in Montana, there's a lot of wilderness, but with the ocean, I could be basically in the wilderness in 20 minutes from where I live, where there is no help. Not really. You are on your own. There's just something about it. I totally understand what you're saying.
Mm.
And I would love to see, and this is part of what Sarah and I do, honestly, is talk to people like you who are doing things maybe that people don't normally think about. So that's why we're so interested in your story and how it gets developed. And we're so excited for this journey and for Deep and to see where it goes. I feel pretty lucky that we got to talk to you this early, because pretty soon I feel like your life's going to get even busier.
True. I was thinking the same thing.
I mean, I feel privileged to do this work for Deep. It's a dream job for me, and the roadmap ahead that I can only talk just a little about is super exciting to me. Larger habitats, modular, in oceans all around the world.
Honestly, I feel like this would be a good spot to end this. We're coming up on a hard stop, but I love what you just said. And I don't know, Norman, I'd love to meet you face to face.
Oh, I'd enjoy that.
See,
Yeah,
see
both
what
of
you're
you.
actually working on.
Open
That would be
invite.
fantastic. Shake your hand, and
Yeah.
this has been really cool.
Okay, before we leave, how can people stay in contact with you or get in contact with you if they would like? Do you do LinkedIn or anything of the sort?
Yes, you can follow our journey on multiple platforms like Instagram at Deep Engineered, or you can find me directly on LinkedIn.
Fantastic. And for anyone listening, we'll make sure to put those down here in
Great.
the in the
Great.
link. So there you have that. And so I think with that, we're going to close out this special episode of the Maritime Morning Brief. Thank you very much for joining us again, Norman. I think we're going to be in touch after this. I think we're going to have to come
Great.
back around for another one like later once it
Yep.
actually is
I
deployed
look
and we
forward
have
to it.
some exciting details.
Especially when, you know, you drop your first submersible somewhere in Puget Sound.
Oh yeah, we'll be there.
Well,
for
You
sure.
will
So,
be there.
and Patrick, just a small clarification when we drop our first habitat.
Sorry, your
Oh,
first
yes.
habitat.
And Patrick's gonna
Great.
go. He's gonna dive down
Oh, there you
there, and
go.
he's gonna,
Yeah.
you know, see it.
Yeah, that's
and
something we can work on.
he's gonna practice for sure.
Thank you so
Amazing.
much. It's a
was
great
awesome.
story. Loved hearing about it. And I loved, honestly, Norman, how you sort of personalized it, where, you know, you brought in a very human element to something that's very esoteric, I guess is the word, something that is hard to describe to people. And you're great today. So thanks for the story.
Thank
And
you. This
So
is
much.
I'm excited to watch this happen, and I mean it. I'd love to see this and love to meet you in person.
great. Great. I would look forward to that. Thank you both.
Yeah,
To be continued.
to be continued.
And with that, I think we are gonna sign off for this episode, and we look forward to seeing you all again bright and early tomorrow morning.